3, 2, 1. Bitch! Hey, welcome to the Unimaginary Friendcast. This is week 5 of the COVID-19 quarantine here in Los Angeles where we record. We are your socially distanced hosts.
I'm Nathan Von Edmondson.
I'm Erin Marie Betty Davis Jr.
And I'm DavidMonster.com.
No, you're not David Monster. The David Monster I knew had a really saggy face.
Super saggy.
So I don't know who you are. You're an imposter.
This is the way I always look. I just woke up, washed my face, just splashed on a little cold water, and, got ready for the podcast.
You look like you're 25.
Oh, thank you.
I have to move on because our listeners that aren't watching can't see what you look like right now. So this might be a little odd.
Well, why would there be listeners that don't watch as well?
I was going to say, backed by popular demand, we are video recording for the third week straight. We got to give the fans what they want. So that's what we're doing.
I agree.
So if you're listening, stop, take a moment, put down your phone, log onto your computer, go to YouTube or Facebook, an imaginary friend. It's worth seeing David's face right now. Yeah.
He's doing a little dance, too,
Moving
little face
on.
dance.
Thank you, face dance.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I always include little Easter eggs in the video episode, so it's worth watching and not listening. It looks like your tape's coming off there.
What? What tape?
David, how are we supposed to do a podcast with you looking like that?
Oh, because you can't take your eyes off how good looking I am?
Yeah, I'm supposed to read my notes here, but all I can do is look at your face.
Am I making you think about breaking your vows?
Let me take a sip of alcoholic beverage.
Wait, don't make me laugh.
All right, so you may have noticed in our last 2 Zoom-isodes that we tackled 2 very important topics in relation to the coronavirus pandemic. The first was the mathematical side, and that was with data analyst Joe Denoto, who called in from Huntsville, Alabama. And the second was the spiritual and sexual side, and that was with our guest last week, Yosef Sagi, who is a life coach from Los Angeles. And today we're going to continue on to what could be arguably the most important and overlooked side of all of this, which is the emotional and mental health side of this crisis. David's pointing at himself. And we are very honored to have an expert, not just a guest, an expert, joining us in the next few minutes from up in the Seattle, Washington area. Her name is Anna Denoto Myers. She's a licensed clinical psychologist and mental health counselor who specializes in assessing, diagnosing, treating neurodevelopmental delays across the lifespan. It's going to be a good one, but first,
we're interrupting this program with breaking news, bitch. I've been doing so much improv now that we're in lockdown. It's crazy because everything's online now. And I was doing a cage match at Half-Life, my team with Steve Kleinedler from Boston, who I used to do a show with in Philly. We advanced from round 1 to round 2. We just had round 2 and lost.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Because
not
enough people logged on. It was a popularity contest.
Yeah, we didn't have enough.
No.
We didn't have.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, David. We didn't have enough friends, so we lost. Oops.
Pays to have friends. Pays to have friends.
I pay to have friends, and they didn't show up.
Oh, well, then you should stop paying them.
Yeah, stop paying them.
David, aside from your facelift, you have any news from this past week? How are you doing?
Well, my favorite news from the past week, I don't know if you saw the Dr. Phil video.
No.
But Dr. Phil does not understand why we social distance now that we have COVID-19 when we never did for other leading causes of death, such as car accidents, swimming pool accidents, and cigarettes.
He doesn't know.
Why didn't we shut down for those things?
I thought he was a doctor.
He's a doctor. He's a real doctor.
But I have probably the most important news of this week. This is for the 3rd week straight. But we finally finished the Fast and the Furious franchise. Every movie, every spinoff, every Tokyo Drift, we did it. We did it. All of them. We watched them all.
And what do you have to say about it?
For any listeners that don't know me, I'm not an action movie fan. So this was a big stretch for me.
This was 9 movies, 9 films. It's a lot of watching.
It took a lot of time and effort.
And what did you learn from it?
There was one moment when, because The Rock is in these films after like part 5, and there's a scene where Vin Diesel and The Rock finally team up, and Aaron did a double fist pump into the air and screamed, "Yes!"
Do it. Let me see it,
There's
Aaron.
no evidence that happened. Prove it, Nathan. Prove it. I have to say, I learned one very important thing, David. That you can drive your car off a cliff as fast as you can and be totally fine. So
Nice.
yeah. I have one other thing I need to plug. It's not really news, it's a plug. But Nathan and I, we made another music video, and this time it was a 1980s rock ballad of a Whitesnake song. And I need everyone to go anywhere online to see it. You can go to YouTube, Unimaginary Friend, Instagram, Facebook. We posted it. Please give us some views, because there's a lot of heart that went into that.
And this week's Gold Star goes to
Eric Zarinsky.
Oh.
You might not know who this person is, but Eric Zarinsky was one of our early founders of Real 9 Productions. Yeah, he is a musician and writes music to a lot of the projects that we do. And the reason he gets the Gold Star this week is because he created Live from the Bunker, which is his brainchild. It is a little escape that happens every 2 to 3 weeks on YouTube, a live stream. It's a concert that he curates, he produces, he does all the hosting in between songs. And we just had our second episode on Friday. The next one will be May 9th, I believe. This is why we've been making music videos. The show has been getting better and better. And musicians from all over the country have been contributing, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think it's a really great way to be creative during this time, and I give them a lot of props. And so please check out Live from the Bunker. It'll be May 9th, YouTube. Before we move on, nobody said anything about my shirt.
Oh.
I'm representing something very important right now.
Dunder Mifflin.
Oh, Dunder Mifflin?
Which is from The Office, and I was born and raised in the Scranton area, as was Anna DiNoto. So this is in honor of our upbringing, Dunder Mifflin. Oh my gosh, she's calling in right now. What are the odds?
God,
I'm going to admit her right now, Dr. DiNoto. Hey! There she is. Look at that. She's in front of books. It makes her look really smart.
There's an awful glare on my glasses.
That's all. Whoa, yeah. It makes you look like a robot when it's right above your eyes.
Yeah, if I talk like this the whole time, I'll be good.
Yeah, that's good. I like seeing your nostrils like that. That's lovely.
Yeah, you like it?
Dr. Myers, we're so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. I need to introduce you. So you know Nathan and I, but you don't know David. So Anna,
I don't.
Meet David. David, meet Anna.
Hello, Dr. DiNoto.
Hi. Can I ask what's going on with your face?
With what?
With well, I see some things.
What?
I think you're gonna have to
tape.
You're gonna have a lot to say about David from a mental health perspective when we're done with this.
That's why you have me on here today.
We need help.
Actually, we're gonna need you to diagnose all of us really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me give a little bit more info about our guest here, and then we can jump into it. We have lots to talk about. Anna is the co-founder of Sandbox Therapy Group in Redmond and Monroe, Washington, which is a kind of a suburb of Seattle area. Her clinic, which she started, provides occupational speech and mental health therapy to those in need. And on top of being a business owner, Anna is the mother of 2 toddlers. And also serves as a policy consultant for Take This, which is a nonprofit organization raising mental health awareness in the media industry. I really don't know why someone so accomplished and busy is talking to a bunch of whack jobs like we are, but I'm really grateful that she's here.
That's rude.
Welcome.
Thanks.
The first question I think we need to get to is just how are you doing with all of this? With two toddlers.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that honestly depends on the hour that you ask me, and sometimes minute by minute. That's sort of my global response to that question as of late.
What's the spectrum?
It's full on crying to full on laughter. I mean, it runs the gamut. because the kids have been home since March 11th.
Wow.
And so they haven't seen another toddler for over a month now. They haven't, been to their school, normal routine. Everything is now on this Zoom, platform. So all of their therapies have been either halted or put on that platform. And that's just different to adjust to, and different to go out in a mask and not be able to work. I've really decreased the amount of patient contact. I don't have any patient contact. I haven't for several weeks now. So that's been an adjustment. What kind of atrophy am I having from just not using the clinical skills that I would use day in and day out? To answer your question, it depends on the hour and what's going on, where the kids are at. Am I able to get the necessities that I need? I came close to not having diapers for my daughter a couple of weeks ago. I think it was like a week or two ago, because they were out of her size. But luckily I went around and found one. But so it's just things like that you never thought you would have to really worry about, and what you take for granted. So it just gives you a whole new perspective.
That's true. Wow. Did they run out of diapers because of the mass hoarding that happened at the start of all this?
Yeah. I feel like things have become a little bit more civil. There's an enforcement of, you get basically for the high needs products, you get one and that's it.
Yeah, we went to our local treasure today, Bob's Liquor, just to see if they had any paper products, and they had a whole bunch of toilet paper, but it was basically the equivalent of sandpaper, and we actually opted to not have toilet paper and to buy what Bob's Liquor had.
We have toilet paper.
We do.
We opted not to buy more.
That was going to be a follow-up question. What are you using?
That was something I was thinking about with kids, though. Not seeing human beings that are your age must be really bizarre for children.
It's interesting to see their understanding of the situation. I've been pretty honest. I've explained what the situation is, similar to a cold, which they're familiar with, but how we have to work really hard to protect other people that might get sick. And just, explain it in terms that they understand, and then answer their questions as it comes, and not overwhelm them with information that they don't necessarily need, right? But throughout the process, both of the kids have been asking, when can we go to a playground? When can I go back to school? When can I see my friends? Can I have a play date tomorrow? And we were surrounded by all of their friends, and we can't even see them. So they're still struggling, both of them, with that. And it's interesting, what kind of repercussions will that have for them? Because that's how children learn, is through modeling, through peer interaction, through that play, parallel play next to each other. And they're just, I don't know how long this is going to last. They're just going to miss out on it, but we'll see.
You're a small business owner. I actually don't know how small. You have a pretty sizable business. So we'll say you're a medium-sized business owner.
Okay.
I don't know. You can correct me on that.
We have like 60 employees. We have about 60.
I mean, that's big.
Pre-COVID-19, we had about 60, combining Monroe as well as Redmond. Yeah.
We haven't talked to someone on the show yet that owns a business, and I would love to know what the impacts have been on you, and what you kind of see for the future of your business, or what you're doing now.
Loads.
And what you're doing now to try to work within the guidelines.
Crying is number one.
Excellent.
It's the top of my list. So there's a lot. So there's personal implications, and then there's business sort of global implications, right? So to go on a personal level, business owners, small business owners, their business gross income and net income, depending on what loans you're trying to apply for, unemployment you're trying to apply for, the bar is different for each of those. But whatever the case is, personally, you don't get to have any kind of unemployment, because I'm a corporate officer.
Oh my gosh.
So
really?
I was denied unemployment benefits, yet I'm getting no income.
That's crazy.
So because they see the business as my income, and they used last year. And anyway, so there's that personally, that now I'm running off of the business profits, and what I stow away for, catastrophic events that might happen. If God forbid I should be sued, I get audited by an insurance company. When they audit you, you have to fork over whatever they're asking for, no matter what, in a matter of 72 hours. So, I always have a reserve, a pool And so what I'm doing right now is paying payroll off of that because I have standby employees in Washington State. I'm not sure what California is, but there's different tiers that an employee can be put on. So there's furlough, which is basically you kind of fire them. There's that option. Then there's partial unemployment where they're seeing patients or they're working, part of the week, maybe 15, 20 hours. And then the rest of it is unemployment that they get paid. And then the other thing is standby where they're not working at all. But the goal is that when they come back, that when we hit the ground running, we can just have them come back as they were pre-COVID-19. So there's a lot of paperwork that business-wise I have to do every single week. There's the repercussions of I have to pay for that too because I'm the employer. So I'm financially hemorrhaging, which makes me terrified. I only have so much reserves. So I've applied for different kinds of grants and loans, and I haven't been approved for any of them yet. I've gotten denials on some of them, and some of them are pending, and some of them just you can't apply because the websites are always down. So from a business standpoint, there's that. And then there's so much anxiety from the employees. There was a lot of just upheaval. There was, you need to do a better job as an employer and you need to make sure that we can get paid, salaried because we are salaried. And I'm like, well, I can't pay you salaried if I don't have you working with patients to have it billable and we have the flow. So there was a lot of I had to, step into this completely different professional role overnight. And I still have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Cool. I kind of want to transition into how everyone's feeling. You're still, from what I understand, working with patients virtually through Zoom or whatever. What is it like out there for you? How are people feeling? How has this impacted people? And what do you think, will there be any long-term repercussions?
So just to clarify, I haven't seen a patient definitely for the entire month of April. I've interacted with some on, email and phone, but I haven't really done much. But by proxy, I work with all of my supervisees, which are basically my interns. So I supervise all of my staff. And so I'm hearing from them that
they're working directly with patients, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're doing the direct care.
Okay.
Because a lot of what I do is I oversee a lot of treatment. I supervise a lot of treatment and I train a lot of folks on how to work with patients. So when I'm doing that, I usually am in the room. And I'm usually demonstrating this behavior, that behavior. This is how you conduct this assessment, and this is what you're doing. And, I talk aloud and so on and so forth. But that's not really an option because we do that through a two-way mirror. And that's just not happening right now because we're doing no contact. So putting that aside, to answer your question, what they're reporting, because I'm having to read the reports and having to do the supervision and talk with them, is that anxiety is really high. Depression is really high. PTSD is really high. Obsessive compulsive disorder is really high. Suicidality is really high. And domestic violence, abuse, child abuse, those things are all starting to peak. And what we're seeing is a lot of crisis amidst all of this. So people, they're getting to the burnout and breakout point where they're feeling very suicidal or they're feeling just paranoid, sort of in threatened situations when, there isn't really a threat necessarily, but it's being created because they're socially isolating. They're taking the situation maybe to the extreme because maybe they went into this pandemic with some anxiety, and then it's just been heightened and escalated because maybe they're just constantly watching the news, going on Facebook and constantly reading these things and sort of feeding that fear. On the opposite side, we're seeing some people that are really managing the situation quite well. The people that were maybe getting ready to graduate out of services that are utilizing all of the coping strategies we gave to them, and they're ready. They were prepared for this in many ways because we've gone over catastrophic events, like what happens if this because that was their fear, that was their phobia, and sure enough, here's one.
Wow, it's
so
coming
some
true
of
now.
our patients are doing quite well. It depends on who the individual is and where they are in their treatment.
And what about moving forward, kind of as a whole, thinking of, I would say the global population, but let's say like our country, for example, If there's a rise in depression and anxiety and suicidality, like you said, do you think that would just kind of turn off once we get to go back to work, or are there snowball effects that happen?
Well, I think that's really that's a good question, and my opinion on that is it's based on the individual, because there's so many factors that impact the outcome of what will happen then, and then what will happen after that, and the cascade of events that will happen after that. For instance, what will people do that thought they had a job and then they go back and their employer's like, wait a second, I only need 2 people for this job. And wait a second, you don't need to come into an office. And wait a second, I don't need an office because we can all do this virtually. And so people are going to have this new normal business way of operating. Right.
It's going to look like a lot like this.
That.
Yeah, I wonder.
Right, for the special effects. So I think it depends. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder how much, and again, it's individual, I'm sure, but how much people's anxiety are more economic versus those who are like health-based and fear-based in the virus aspect, and how that's influencing people.
Well, and behavior-based too. There's a lot of people that, our patients are talking about, like, will I always have to wear a mask? Will I ever want to shake a person's hand again? Oh, don't hug me. I don't know you. Oh my gosh, I touched a surface. Is it right? And so, that's going to be something that sticks with us. And I know my son talks about that now too. He's like, there's germs right there. And it's, I don't know, like dust or something. And so there's this new elevated way of, heightened way of looking at situations. And that, that may curb and sort of come down. We don't know, and fade, but it's just something that I think will stick with us. And there might be some PTSD there for some individuals. But also there's some people that are resilient. So I think it depends on the individual, what supports they have in place, if they have any mental health, prior conditions coming into this, or did they develop one? Is this a catalyst for something that maybe was dormant within them?
Yeah, I feel like, Dr. Anna, that you're going to be a lot busier after this is over, because usually, like, I don't know if Aaron and Nathan, you know this, but Dr. Anna, I'm sure you know this, that like after wartime or after traumatic events, there's usually more mental crises after the event than during the event. It
really, again, that depends on the person and the situation and the circumstances, but certainly when there's a heightened level of anxiety for an elongated period of time, that impacts how our brain, how our body responds daily and what that does to us internally. And so there's some medical explanations, and I'm not medically trained, so I can't really speak to that. But neurologically, it increases different kinds of chemicals like adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. And norepinephrine is just a fancy neurochemical in our brain that is the stress response chemical for the fight or flight. If you've ever heard of that, fight, flight, freeze response strategy. So when you have a heightened elevated level of that for such a long period of time, which again, a lot of our patients are experiencing, I know certainly in our household, we experience that daily. We're just, the kids are screaming so much. I have a lot of special needs friends and also family members, and I feel like this past week, everyone sort of said, we're at the tipping point. This has been a month. We thought we were going to get out. And so their anxiety is contagious to the children because they can pick up on that. Children are, they read their environment so well. And so then the kids' anxiety is heightened. And then you've got these two going back and forth. I
can imagine
yo-yoing.
That just spirals forward.
Yeah.
Now, I know we probably would owe you a stiff hourly rate for this next question.
Diagnose us.
But,
what'd you say?
Diagnose us. Ready? Go.
I'm not there yet. I was just going to ask her, from your professional standpoint, is there any, and this is going to be very general because like you said, everything's on an individual level, but what are some things or tools that we could all be implementing to help us all maintain some sort of mental health during this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not a one size fits all person. And that can sometimes annoy people when I get asked questions that are sensitive to so many factors like gender, socioeconomic status. What support systems do you have in place? Because I feel like sometimes professionals come up and they're like, you need to go to therapy and you need to be able to do this and you need to go out and get this tool and you need to go out and get this book. And it's like, well, they don't have the money. They don't have the resources. They don't have a car. They don't have the ability to get on a computer because they don't have Wi-Fi. So I think, first and foremost, you have to individualize things and be realistic with the coping strategies that work for you. And supports is going to be a really big factor.
Which support is in friends and family, or and social media as much as you can. Calling up people, communicating with people, with the social distancing, orders in place as much as you can. So you are relieving that stress and having a sense of normalcy, and, just feeling validated, like, oh, okay, they're also very upset because of blah, 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 blah. They're also very anxious because that just relieves stress when we feel like, oh, okay, someone else is getting this experience too and they understand it. So that can be very validating for us. So supports, just being mindful of your schedule too. I think that's a really important thing, not only for adults, but for kids too. We don't necessarily all have to wake up now. And so, we want to sleep in and sort of, fly by the seat of our pants during the day. And for kids, that is not working. You have got to set some kind of even blocked, even for a 1 to 2 hour to 3 hour, just even if you do the morning, like, okay, here are these 5 activities that Monday through Friday, I'm just going to, pick out of a bag or what have you. Just have some kind of structure because that calms them down and that can calm you down because you don't have to think, oh God, it's like the question of what am I going to make for dinner, right? If you go into the day like, oh God, what am I going to do? Right? That creates stress. So have a structure to your day so that whenever we do start to roll back into normalcy, whatever that is, we're just able to sort of get back into that and not have to hopefully do too much work on, oh my gosh, my circadian rhythm, my sleep schedule is completely off. Try to keep on a schedule what you used to be on. The other thing is I feel like the big thing I keep telling, my therapist that I'm working with and just family and friends is it's okay to not be okay because we really aren't okay. I feel like we're not in an okay circumstance and we need to just acknowledge that and appreciate that what we're feeling is okay. And if that gets to an extreme and you're feeling, especially suicidal, if you're feeling homicidal, if you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to just lose it on my kid right now. You need to take a step back, and take yourself out of that situation and make sure that, you're getting support, you're getting help, whatever that looks like. Your child's having a hard time, they're not giving you a hard time. And I feel like that can relate to adults too here. We're all cramped up sometimes in tiny spaces. And so we're getting on each other's nerves and understand that, that person, if they're coming at you and they're yelling at you and getting really agitated, they're probably having a really hard time. It doesn't excuse if they're being abusive. It doesn't excuse if they're yelling at you or what have you, but just try and have that understanding of, okay, we're all in this together. What can we do? How can we make this better? How can I give you a break? And how can we tag team this? That's great. I feel like schedule, routine, keeping some sort of normalcy right now, so that we can transition when we're allowed to go back to normal, whenever that is or however that is. I think that sounds like the best advice I've heard. Now my most important question of the night is, what is wrong with David? Anna, Dr. Anna.
Yeah, please diagnose us. David. What's going on with David?
So I would like to know, is that tape?
What? It's what?
Okay, so it's not.
I think David had a facelift. Tape lift.
Oh. Wait a second. I thought that was non-essential.
Uh-oh. I think it was
How'd you get a
My
facelift
appearance?
during all this?
Wait, my appearance is not essential? How insane does that sound? Wait, I did want to ask you, Miss Anasinoto, Dr. Myers.
Yes.
Okay, the first question is Freud or Jung?
Probably neither.
Ooh.
wow.
I'm not a Jungian and I'm not a Freudian. I'm a Skinnerian. Hardcore
That's a good answer.
Skinnerian.
What's that?
Can you give like
Skinner, B.F. Skinner?
can you give a 10-second description of what that person is or has done?
So B.F. Skinner, he's a behaviorist, and he's well known for radical behaviorism, which sort of takes a step away from traditional behaviorism, which just focused in on what it was observable. And he sort of took it outside of that and said, hey, there are these private thoughts that people have, but those are also things we need to measure and take note of when we're analyzing behaviors. And that spurred into just a whole field of behavior analysis that I do, that I love, which is an appreciation of things you can see and things you can't see. So the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors all sort of put into one. And
Ooh.
I love him. And he actually is from Pennsylvania. So
Wow, fun
Go
fact.
Pennsylvania. Is he from
I wonder
Philly?
if he worked at Dunder Mifflin.
I saw your shirt. That's why I was pointing that
It's
out.
in honor of our heritage. our heritage of northeastern Pennsylvania.
Good old NEPA.
It's a very rich culture there. You guys would understand. David, any other
Yeah.
last minute questions for Dr. Anna while we have her?
Yeah, well, I have two actually. I wanted to go off of what she just said about Skinner. I think that's really interesting because what I've always felt about most human beings and why they're so insane is that they can't, or just, no, let's just take human beings that are normal.
Is that, are you globally assessing the
Well, no, here, just go with me
population?
for a second. Just go with me for a second.
Okay.
Because most human beings are normal, but they're kind of like human behavior on a whole is kind of insane. You can see it now more than ever. And I think
Okay.
one of the reasons that I've always felt is because everyone does have crazy, insane ideas and thoughts going on a daily basis. I think the reason why most people act so insane is because they can't acknowledge the insanity that's going on in their head. You know what I mean? Like they
I
either,
do.
like,
Yeah.
push it away,
Yeah.
and I think the most sane people and the people that are the most gracious and cordial and whatnot can see it, and they even have humor about what is going on in their brains. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. So I love that. I love that analysis, and I'm glad I was stuck with you because I wasn't sure where I was going. But so thanks for filling me in. Yeah. So I think, Skinner started some of that work, and then I feel like that then there was an offshoot of cognitive behavioral therapy, which then analyzes automatic thoughts. And so what you're getting at is automatic thoughts. And those are the initial thoughts that pop into our head, an initial thought. So I clap my hands, right? And your initial thought might be like, is she happy at me? Like, why did she do that? Is she just being weird? What is she still? So all of those, the first one is, whatever, I don't even know what I just said. You'll have to rewind, but whatever the first thought is, that's your automatic thought. And then there's all these secondary thoughts that come after that. And those secondary thoughts are the thoughts that create a cascade, and just a whole host of anxiety and depression and things that if we're not keeping in check, we get to that insanity level. So if you're not doing your own work and are mindful of those can really go awry.
Is that what happened to David?
Yeah, well, the next thing is probably more accurate. So intrusive thoughts. So automatic thoughts are just, we all have them. It's just a matter of, are we aware of them or aren't we? Because sometimes they're in this unconscious, which means we're completely unaware of it, totally unaware. Subconscious, which is if we work on it, we'll be able to see this and just be more aware of it. And then there's the conscious level, which is, we're always aware of it. We're always in tune with it. And if you work really hard, you can get to that point. And for better or for worse, psychologists are usually pretty good at getting to that level. And then, they sort of overanalyze things, right? But anyway, sort of getting to the next thing, which is intrusive thoughts, which might be what's going on here. Those ones are things that come into your head and they yell at you and they're screaming at you and they're making you panicked and they make you do behaviors that you really don't want to do. So we see this readily in individuals with obsessive compulsive disorder. So you'll get this thought that pops into your head and it'll say something like, I need to count ceiling tiles. And if I don't count those ceiling tiles, I'm going to die. And that's how intrusive it is. And it feels really, really real. So that could be another thing that people are going sort of insane in your definition. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
We had to switch David to the bottom because David just loves to be at bottom.
I'm not a bottom, you bottom bitch.
Oh. David, do you have another question for Dr. Anna?
Yeah, I have two more really good questions.
Calling you a doctor.
Wait, they better
You're a
be
doctor,
really
right?
good questions.
Yes, I am a doctor, but I don't usually tell people that.
Well, now they know.
I've been screaming it
how
from the
come?
rooftops.
Wait, why don't you tell people?
Typically, the response to that is, in my experience, has globally not been very positive.
Oh, really?
Just a lot of thinking I'm filthy rich, thinking I'm pretentious, thinking I'm above them. And so I tend to just say, I'm a psychologist, I'm a mental health therapist, and that's sort of where I keep things at.
Does that make you dance?
She's
Dancing?
all,
Do I
I'm
dance?
Dana Banana, and I'm here to help you. What?
David was dancing up a
That's
storm.
exactly how I introduce myself to patients, yes.
She's very professional. All right, David, go.
Go, David, go.
All right. This whole quarantine thing is nice and everything, but I feel like
Is it?
Well, I mean, people are so into it. People like human beings love to get into it, and they're so into this quarantine thing. I don't know. Like, I feel like humans are always going to be the most difficult problem for other humans to face. The human problem. How do you deal with the human problem?
The human condition?
Yeah. I'm not fond of the human experience. Like, dealing with humans is not a fun or wonderful. There's nothing good comes from it, from general contact. And I think that probably most of your patients, their problems are because they deal with humans, I'm sure, right?
Not
Right.
always. A lot of my work is with individuals that are on the autism spectrum or autistic. It's a very individual situation where people just define it a little bit differently, but and characterize it. So with a lot of the things that we see there, it's not necessarily that they're interacting with individuals. Sometimes they are doing it incorrectly, but most of the time they're not interacting at all, and that's a problem. And then they're engaging in behaviors that are very repetitive and restrictive. So, for instance, they might turn on and off light switches, and if you don't stop them, they'll just do that all day. And that prevents their cognitive development, emotional, social, so on and so forth. And socially, there's a lot of awkwardness. There's a lot of misinterpreting cues, not understanding things, being totally confused and aloof. So there's that as well. Now, there are individuals that have, maybe what you're getting at is like a social anxiety, or, they might have like a selective mutism where they don't really talk when they're around people, and they're sort of stunted, and they just shut down. So there's some social phobia. There's some individuals that definitely struggle with that, and then there's people that are shy, who are just slow to warm up. So they might like socializing, but it just takes them some time to get there. And then there's people who are introverted, who are completely drained whenever they're in social situations. And then the polar opposite of that is extroversion, where people are recharged by being in social situations. So, I mean, I think the human condition varies from person to person, and what their circumstances are, and what is difficult for them to experience, and what cognitively might be going on, what they might be predisposed with, meaning, what are their genetic genes basically telling them to do and to interact in their day-to-day life.
I think that if we all looked at our own lives individually, we would see that our biggest problems come from either a connection with human beings or a lack of connection with human beings. Do you think there's any hope?
Do I have hope for the future?
Yeah.
again, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute for me. But overall, there's something that I do want to touch on briefly if I have a minute, which is, there's social distancing, which, my takeaway from that is just be precautionary, be preventative, be smart when you're out and engaging with other people. If you are making the choice to socialize, sort of do it appropriately and wear the mask and just keep your distance and sanitize, so on and so forth, right? And then there's social isolation, which is, I feel like, the extreme of what some people are doing. And I know some people right now that they've just went off the grid and they're just not socializing. They're not on social media. They're like, I'm checking out. I will interact every so often with someone to make sure, I'm let them know. And that's all I'm doing. And it's like, oh, that's a concern that I have for individuals, because what if their mind is wondering, what's going on with those intrusive thoughts or those automatic thoughts, and do they have coping strategies? Do they have the ability to meet those basic needs of food, and just basic survival support needs? So I think that there's some negative repercussions that come of that.
And what you were saying about social isolating, I think, is really important, because I feel like this is such a scary time with such high stress where people could isolate and then they could just go off the deep end with how crazy,
right.
or
it snowballs,
crazy,
absolutely.
but like sad or scared they could get. One thing that I've noticed, something that I've never really experienced as much with, is the OCD feelings that are showing up of cleanliness, where I think it's something that a lot of people are going to be facing, where they're like, there are germs and they could kill someone I love or myself. So the amount of hand washing that takes place and like being able to categorize, like, I feel like we've been delivered. It still isn't entirely clear what the risks for certain activities or behaviors are. So it's like, depending on your personality, where you fall, are you going to go extreme or low key? But I think in general, there's going to be an uptick of people just, afraid to touch things, afraid to touch other people, always washing their hands, afraid to go out, afraid to do so much things when things go back to normal. I just wondered if you had any thoughts about that specifically.
OCD is within the category of anxiety, and there's different sequences that go through that you go through when you have obsessive compulsive disorder. So there's the obsession, there's that intrusive thought comes in, and it's, I need to hand wash. And then there's the compulsion, I'm going to hand wash or I will die. And that cycle goes on. And what happens is, if you don't compulse, which is the action, the behavior, if you don't act on the obsession, which is the thought, so those two go hand in hand to have obsessive compulsive disorder. That's what you need to be diagnosed with that. What happens is you have a spike in anxiety, which is panic attack. And you'll just see them in a frenzy. And so you'll see that with hoarding, that's within that category. Hoarding it's a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. It just looks different for, everyone, and what the function is. Why are they doing what they're doing? My take on the situation, again, depends on the person. But I think for a while, and I'm not sure what a while is, it might be a year, it might be two, who knows, where that level of anxiety is going to be heightened in people who previously did not have OCD, but did go into this with maybe anxiety, or maybe didn't even have anxiety, but they have been obsessively watching the news and watching, YouTube videos on COVID-19, and, maybe they were sick, or maybe they had a family member that was sick. And so that, that raises that level of anxiety for them. And then, again, they engage in the obsessive compulsive behaviors. So I think, again, as mental health clinicians, we need to be providing education to patients and working together with people that are going to be on the front line seeing this. So schools, doctors, nurses, people that are seeing this, to understand, is this normal? Because this is an emergency situation, right? And we're trying to manage and deal with this thing that was thrown at us. The rug was pulled out from us. I mean, March 1st, everyone's like, oh, okay, like this is coming. And then March 10th, we're like, what? Like, I can't go to work. Within the course of 10 days, that just been huge shift. That scares people and that sticks with you.
Is there a safe amount of news to consume every day? Would you have any suggestions to someone that it can't turn off 24-hour
David
news?
says zero.
Oh, wait, what'd you say?
I think he's making a butthole. with his
Zero.
hand. Oh, okay.
So I think it's really important to understand what you're seeking the information for. Like, what's the function of you seeking this out? That's the first thing. Is it for anxiety reduction? Because I don't know if it's going to reduce your anxiety or raise it, and you have to be prepared for that. And what is it that you're seeking? And making sure you're seeking from reputable sources, because there's a lot of just misinformation, I feel like, that's going on. One of the biggest ones is, I'm not going to point out this person because I feel like it would be mean, but I have someone that in my circle that told me they were wearing gloves every day, and wherever they go, they were wearing gloves. Started out the day with the same pair of gloves, and they just wore it until there was like a hole in it. And I'm like, you can't do that. You use the gloves for one circumstance, and then you take them off because it's been soiled. It's right. And so the example I use, it's intense, but it paints the picture. It's like using the same condom for the same like period of time. Maybe you're sleeping with like 10 different people.
Are you not supposed to do that?
You just reusing it. Like, it's like, no, don't do that.
Did you
Wait,
know that's not
Don't
supposed
I've
to
do
be
that.
like that?
I've had one
Don't do
condom for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's all we've been using.
One
So
condom.
don't do that. She's saying don't do that.
Don't
Okay.
do that.
See,
Okay,
this
good.
call was
I didn't
worth
realize
it.
that.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of getting to the point where we'll wrap this up, but I have
Yeah.
a couple observations and a comment. The first one is there's going to be some diehard listeners out there that are like, wait, Denoto? I've heard that name before. Yes, this is the sister of Joe Denoto, our data analyst from 2 weeks ago. Just
It
throwing that
is.
out there.
Wow.
Second
I'm the
thing,
younger one. I'm the middle child.
the second
You and
one,
Joe speak alike. Your speech patterns are a little bit alike too. Did you notice that?
what do you mean they're smart
That's
talk?
probably that genetic thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, you have
It happens.
lovely nail polish. Thank you
Can
for
you show
taking the
it?
time to
Damn, matches your best.
not a lot of people are taking time for the details, so I appreciate that. And the third thing, this is maybe an elephant in the room, but I want to get it out in the open. You, Anna, said to me in confidence, and I'm going to just blow the load all over this
what?
podcast, that you are a big fan of David Monster.
I am.
And I might
What?
have told David that, and he
Why? What about me are you so obsessed with?
Oh my goodness. So I've watched you from afar for years and have told Aaron for years how I wanted to meet you. I think your sense of humor is just witty, and the way that you're able to characterize things and explain things is just hilarious in my brain. I really value it and appreciate it, and laugh pretty heavily at your sense of humor. Like a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week or two ago, Aaron had posted one of the total trip dominations, and you were like dancing, and I kept watching it, and Aerobitards is like my favorite. I'm like your number one Aerobitards fan.
Wow. Thank you.
So just your confidence in your humor is admirable.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you said. I didn't know I had confidence.
I think you do. I mean,
But-
look at your face right now.
Well, when you look this good, you do have a certain amount of confidence.
You know, it's interesting because there was so many things going through my mind real quick, Aaron, when you were like, oh, what are some things to do, right? That might help people so that they don't snowball. And gratitude is so I hold a couple different principles that I operate by in my life. And one of them is loving people. So doing my best to just love people, loving God, which I'm just that spirituality, and that's not for everyone. And I get that. But then, living graciously and having that gratitude, and that there's been so much research behind having gratuity and being gracious.
Aaron and Nathan, why don't you show your gratitude for her?
are we doing it for
Oh.
Anna specifically or for the world?
No, for Anna. For Dr. Anna Banana.
Me, I mean, it's so personal for me because we didn't get into this at all, but Anna's pretty much my best friend in the whole world, and we grew up together. So the amount of love I have for this woman is there aren't any words.
There's no words? Oh, that's sweet. Do you feel the same, Anna Banana?
Oh, of course. Are you kidding? What, like 10, 11 years old? What was it, 6th grade? Mr. Hess? Yeah. I mean, we've been through a lot. We've known each other forever and been through ups and downs. And we have the kind of amazing relationship that I feel like so many people are lacking, which is you can go several months without talking. And then you just pick up where you left off. And it's like there's nothing weird or awkward about it.
I'm very grateful for that. Because those relationships are hard to find. And when you talk about having a support system, you're up there at the top for me. So gratitude.
That's incredible.
Gratitude is very high.
Same, buddy.
That's incredible. I'm glad that you said all that because my last question has to do with that. Erin was voted class clown, correct, in high school?
I think you were you?
And she also holds records in track.
Yeah, I know. Insane.
And she
5'11", right?
So this is what we need to know, because Erin insists that she was not popular in high school, which is obviously...
Thank you for bringing that up. Anna, please clear the air. David thinks that I was a popular girl.
Erin was not. Erin and I were like the most hated, weird freaks. All of us.
Thank you. David will not believe me. Are you?
Well, then how was she voted? Wait, then how was she voted class clown then? Because
we're freaks.
We just pulled.
We came to school in garbage bags. We wore duct tape as shirts. We would eat food and like snort like animals and run around and bang into walls, climb walls.
So wait, is she the one in the video? In those videos?
That's her. He might have seen
one
of them.
Show them?
That's going to have to be an Easter egg somewhere in this edition.
No, not without my consent.
Can't do that, David. That was for your private eyes only.
I am a professional.
That's right.
You cannot.
I am a professional.
Dr. Anna, I'm going to call you that now, even when we talk on the phone. Thank you so much for. I know that you have a lot going on right now. Thank you for taking the time to call in and.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you. Come down to LA. We can be best friends.
I can't wait. Can't wait. When this is over.
All right. Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks again.
Bye.
Have a good one.
What a great conversation with Anna Dinoto Meyer. Woo! Woo! Woo!
All right.
Woo! I learned a lot. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I feel better about a lot of things. I feel like there's hope.
I think we're going to get through this, guys. I think that's the most important thing. It's saner and happier as a result of this podcast.
David, your facelift is really holding up there. It hasn't melted off yet.
What facelift? This is just the way I look all the time. This is probably the first time you guys ever looked directly at me.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
That could be. Yeah, I tried not to look at you. Anyway, so if you haven't been checking out our videos of our podcast, please do that. We'll be back next week, as we are every week, because we've been doing this for 4.5 years. We haven't missed a week. We're here for you. We will be back next week, guaranteed. What are you laughing at?
4.5 years. I can't believe it.
And look where it's gotten us. We couldn't be.
It's gotten us everything.
Yeah, everything.
I'm Poppy. P-I-P-P-Y. I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y. I'm Poppy. What's up from bitch?
P-O-P-P-Y. I'm Poppy.